Is day two of the DA's Federal Congress. It's being held at Gallagher Estate in Midrand. The voting underway this morning, got underway at around 6 o'clock. It's expected to end the voting at 9 a.m. this morning. Results, I understand, are going to be between 2 and 2:30 this afternoon. Let's remind you of the two big names, in case you haven't been following. Incumbent leader John Steenhuisen up against former Joburg Mayor Mtila. Helen Zille, on the other hand, is poised for re-election as Federal Council chairs. Let's head back to Gallagher Estate. Both senior reporters, Aviwe Mtila and Siphamandla Goge, on the Congress law for us. And hello to you, both of you. Let's start with Siphamandla. We haven't heard from you this morning, Sipha, and it's crunch time. And today's vote is not just important for the Democratic Alliance. Tell me if you agree. This is going to have real resonance for the 2024 general elections.
Indeed, and simply put, this Congress, after voting, will have to be seized and deal with the issue of the upcoming general election. And they have to discuss a number of policy proposals and take a number of resolutions that will take them to 2024. So it's day two. Delegates are inside the plenary hall as we speak, and some of them are trickling in. Voting was set down for 6 o'clock, between 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the morning. And some delegates have already voted. The system is smooth, we are told. So today really is crunch time for the two contestants here. I'm talking about the incumbent John Steenhuisen and the former City of Joburg Mayor Dr. Mtila. Yesterday, both of them appealed to the delegates to give them a chance, pledging to unite the party and take it to greater heights and ensuring that they will do well in 2024. One of the delegates who has voted now joins me. Thank you very much for your time. Let's talk about you voting. How was the system? How smooth was it? Who did you vote for?
I vote for, first I want to say good morning to you all, and thank you for asking me. Yes, I did vote already, and I casted my vote to our leadership, who I prefer. I voted for John Steenhuisen, and also for the other delegate, the other leadership I voted for. But the system, there's nothing wrong with the system. The system is intact, all went smooth. If you needed assistance and you didn't wanted to vote on your phone, you could add there's assistance. We've got that also in place. So yeah, the process was very smooth, and it was like in quick. Yeah.
Okay. So now you are going back to plenary closed sessions. You will have to deal with a number of policy issues and closed sessions. Yeah. Apart from electing leadership, policy issues are very important, and a number of those will be discussed. What is it that you would want to see changing within the DA heading to the 2024 general election?
I'm not going to answer that one. Really, I told you, I'm just going to tell you, I enjoyed voting and I casted my vote, and I also told you that the spirit here, I love it, and it's an honor to be here. Okay, and I close with that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Today. Well, basically one of the delegates, they're saying she will stick to voting, which was smooth, and a number of policy issues, discussions and proposals, saying, well, she would prefer not to touch on that one. But yes, today is very important because in the afternoon the results will be announced, and then after that the federal leader who would have been elected will close this 2023 Federal Congress of the official opposition.
All right, Siphamandla, let's head over then to Aviwe Mtila, who's also on the floor for us, just outside, keeping an eye on what the delegates are saying there. And I know we're going to be talking to a political analyst in a couple of minutes, Professor Andre Deurvenacher, Aviwe, but one of the big questions has to be about the position of a deputy federal leader. I understand, and I'm seeing reports that things got very heated yesterday when that position was rejected by delegates. So it's winner takes all. There's no deputy in this one. That's going to be significant for the powers and the centre powers within the Democratic Alliance.
Of course, Gareth, in order to get the deputy, the delegates here at 2000 had to vote at least a two-third majority in order for that constitutional amendment to be accepted. Of course, rejected by delegates, not getting that mandate. And now the voting continues. The 2000 delegates are voting actually for the leadership here inside the Gallagher Convention Centre. But on the sidelines, we're still getting reaction. And in fact, I'm joined by the Cape Town Mayor. And I'm going to just step away from the conference for a moment. I want to address address another issue that's making headlines here. That's the issue around the ex-mayoral committee member Malusi Boy in Cape Town. Of course, police believed to be investigating him around allegations of the gang bosses, underworld bosses that have contracts within the city. In fact, let me catch up with the mayor now to get indication on this. Mayor, thank you for joining us at the eNCA. But are you aware of these contracts that allegedly the companies of the underground bosses have with the city of Cape Town?
Well, I was not aware until the police search and seizure took place at our offices 2 weeks ago, Wednesday, I think, and of course that comes as a bolt out of the blue. And so when I got some of the details, very scant details to be sure, not a great deal of detail was shared with me by the SAPS, but that which they were able to share, I was quite concerned by, not quite concerned, very concerned by. And so I thought the best, most prudent course of action was to act immediately to protect the integrity of the Cape Town government and of my own mayoral committee, and to remove the councillor from the mayoral committee. I do not know when SAPS will take further action. I have had no further update from them since then, but I think my first responsibility is to the whole city of Cape Town. And as much as it grieves me what I had to do, I think it was the right thing to do.
And maybe give us and the city of Cape Town more detail into these contracts. What exactly are they and how much do they amount to?
No, I wish I could tell you, but at the moment it's not at all clear that there are any contracts at all. What is clear is that there's inappropriate contact between or allegedly, rather let me say, allegedly inappropriate contact between the councillor and some of these figures, and that is enough. That's unacceptable to me. No public figure should be involved in that kind of stuff, and so the police will have to set out their case in the weeks ahead, and I'll be watching it very carefully.
And as a mayor yourself, what have you found and what action are you taking against Malusi Boy aside from axing him from the mayoral committee?
Well, in my case, my power is to appoint members of the executive. I don't hire and fire councillors. So Councillor Boy becomes an ordinary councillor now. He is an ordinary councillor. And that is up to the Speaker's office now to take action against ordinary councillors or not. But my job and my power is to hire and fire executive councillors, and that's what I've done.
Okay, I just want to get this clear. You're not sure if there are these contracts with the underworld bosses or not, no. And how can you then get that certainty so that you're sure that there's no involvement with the gang bosses?
No, I'm not at all, and I don't even think that there would be, to be honest. I don't think that there's any direct contract. I think that what might happen is that it's subcontracts to other contractors. You know, the way that the construction mafia, so to speak, works in South Africa around the country is that very often they try to insert themselves through main contractors by using bullying and intimidation. So I suspect that it has something to do with that. Again, allegedly, this is what the SAPs tell me, but it's really difficult for me to comment on details without seeing all of the evidence that SAPs has, which I have not seen and which they will not give me.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll leave it there for now. And of course, the conference itself continuing here. I'm sorry, just lost a bit of my earpiece there. Congress itself continuing here, but of course those news around the mayoral committee, well, ex-mayoral committee Malusi Boy is one that we had to touch on. Those headlines making news now that he is being probed by the police for contracts allegedly linked with the city of Cape Town. Had that clarity here. Not certain if those contracts are in place, but could be subcontracts with the gang bosses.
Siphamandla, let me come back to you as well. I'm sure you can just add some meat to the bone for this. There was talk before the Congress getting underway and some concerns raised about the voting process, this electronic voting system. But what we're hearing is so far it is working. I'll tell you why I asked the question, because the issues were raised before this Congress. But now there's talk that maybe this is what South Africa should be doing with our general elections, perhaps if not next year, in the elections to come, this electronic voting.
Well, the Democratic Alliance has vouched for the system that they are using, and it would appear to me that based on a number of delegates that I've interviewed, that they appear to be okay with the system. They say it's working perfectly fine. Before the Congress, some people were raising issues to say, well, the credibility of the system, but the Democratic Alliance, even before the Congress started, they were like, we are vouching for this system. We have used it before, even in the Eastern Cape for the provincial conference there. It was used with no issues, so they said they will continue to use it. And if you check yesterday when they were giving the mandate to their delegates to say how voting was going to be undertaken, they were going to be, of course, issued with the codes that they were going to be used to use their mobile phones to undertake the process of voting. And all the delegates that we have spoken to have said to us there were no hiccups. So according to them, the system works, and that, by the way, would lead to that debate in South Africa about whether the country needs this system, and that will take a lot of work and it will be a process. It's definitely not going to happen anytime soon, but even the Independent Electoral Commission in the past has said that they are not really opposed to the idea of going that direction, but it's something that will need each and every stakeholder to be on board, and it will be a process that will take time. But for the DA, this electronic system works for them, hence you will not be able to see people going to the ballot boxes and then physically casting their ballot. That is not happening here, but those measures are put in place for those who are unable to utilize the electronic system. They can undertake the physical aspect of voting. So that's what is currently happening. But allow me to come back to what you spoke about earlier on the issue of the proposal to amend the constitution to include the position of the deputy federal leader of the Democratic Alliance. This has been introduced for the third time at this Congress. 2 Congresses before it was introduced, and I remember in the previous Congress, Mbalintuli, who's now no longer one of the leaders of the DA, was one of the people who were pushing hard for this. It did not gain traction back then, but yesterday many people were shocked when those red and blue or green tickets were being raised by the delegates to say those who are in favor of amending the constitution to cater for the position of the deputy federal leader. When those green cards were raised by the delegates, many people were shocked, because when the voting came and the counting came, the margin could be described as being very narrow, because those who were against were 879, those who were in favor were 850. That is a huge jump from the previous Congress of the DA. So moving forward, you get a sense that in the next Congress or few Congresses to come, maybe delegates of the Democratic Alliance may actually embrace the position of the deputy federal leader of the DA. Simply put, it will be a situation whereby in other political parties you will have the president and the deputy president. Currently in the DA you have the federal leader. There is no deputy chairperson in terms of the federal leader position. So the delegates here, 850 of those, including Natasha Mazone, by the way, I saw her raising her green card in support of that position being created and being accommodated in the constitution of the DA. So it's a big talking point if you take into account that they had to pause for a while to count and come back to that item, because 850 delegates were in support, 879 were against. Moving forward, it's going to be one of the biggest talking points in the upcoming Congresses.
It certainly is. And Siphamandla, I'm going to come back to you as well. And when I come back to you, I want to kick the tin down the road a little bit to next year's elections. I want you to set the scene for me as to what a coalition national government could look like. But Aviwe, what is not in question today, and I hope you're still with me, I hope that earpiece is okay, and you can still hear me all right. You saw Helen Zille driving in when you were at the entrance a little bit earlier this morning, and that's the 2 positions that are not up for debate, unless I have missed this, the Federal Finance Chair and Federal Chair. It seems like it's pretty much signed, sealed and delivered.
Well, one of the 2 people that drove in here without any fear or worry of the position that she holds. That's the position of Federal Chair, Helen Zille, driving in about some 30 or so minutes ago. Of course, one of the 2 positions that are uncontested, so she will retain her position when the announcement is made at around 2:30 this afternoon as the Federal Chair of the Democratic Alliance. The other position that is uncontested in this Federal Congress is a position of federal finance chair. That's the position that Dr. Dion George holds. Of course, he's been holding that very position for 5 previous Congresses. It will be his 6th time that he holds the finances and the purse of the Democratic Alliance. So those 2 positions are not in doubt here. But of course, the one key position that is very contested here is the position of the party leader, the federal chair of the Democratic Alliance. John Steenhuisen suggesting that he's served all the ranks. I mean, he's done time for the Democratic Alliance back in 1997 when he joined under the leadership of Tony Leon, when it was still the Democratic Party, suggesting that also he's also done, the legwork in terms of serving as a ward councillor for at least 10 years. And he's also been chief whip up until he was then elected as the federal chair back in 2019. But also Dr. Mpho Phalatse, the former mayor of Johannesburg, suggesting that she's also done not only the political work but also had a stint in the private sector, coming in as the MMC of Health in Johannesburg and also serving as the mayor of Johannesburg itself, the biggest municipality in the country. So she says that she has that scope of work, and of course also governed those coalitions very well, as she had to govern alongside 8 other political parties when she was mayor of Johannesburg. So she says that she is fit and ready to serve the Democratic Alliance and lead it into next year's elections. But of course, that outcome, Gareth, will only find out at 2:30 when that announcement is made.
And Aviwe, Mtila, thank you very much to you indeed. Siphamandla, I'm actually going to come back to you perhaps later in the day. We'll ask you that question about next year's general elections. My thanks to both Aviwe Mtila and Siphamandla Goge. The voting is underway at the moment. Where's my clock? There it is, 17 after 8. It's set to come to an end for the voting process for delegates 9 a.m. this morning. And as Aviwe says, we are expecting the announcement of who is in charge of the DA come 2 or 2:30 this afternoon.